Do I buy the PlayStation VR2? I'm very tempted, and it seems like a very silly thing to buy because of how expensive it is and the fact that I already own a VR headset. It's just the games that I want to play are not available on my Oculus Quest 2. One of the best times I've had in gaming of the last decade is the first time that I played Resident Evil 4 in VR. I adore that experience. I want to do it right now, but because of the way that I play games, I would need to play Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, and then for VR to do that. It's just the way that I do things. Also, a great percentage of you guys are not already subscribed. If we could fix that, drop me a subscribe. That'd be cool. I want a silver play button over there at some point. That'd be awesome. But I am also aware that there are 3 more Resident Evil VR experiences, all on PlayStation VR. There's Resident Evil 7 VR, which I think might not be backwards compatible or forwards compatible. I'm not really sure the logistics of that phrasing with PSVR2. But then there's also Resident Evil 8 VR and Resident Evil 4 Remake VR. RE4 Remake VR is the one that I really, really want to try, but I'd also want to do the other 2 just for, the experience. Problem is the price of VR is nuts. From brand new, the PlayStation VR2 headset costs £529. That's mental. I could get it right now. I could, but £500, I don't know, for 3 games. And I know that sounds really rich considering I also spent £600 on Kuon. I did spend £600, but the point is that game made me my money back. This one probably wouldn't. This one might be a little bit out there for something to buy from CEX, but CEX do sell it for $385, which is a significant price difference. And this is the boxed version. Do I need the boxed version? No, but I'd probably want the box anyway, just to be sure. And to be real, it would probably be just fine from CX, and if there was any problem with it, they'd take it back and refund me, because that's just how they work with their 24-month warranty. I don't know, but it would still be £385 for what is effectively just a few games. I'm not sure. My other concern is the fact that something I really like about my Oculus Quest 2 is this grip that I've got on it, which means I can just fully let go while I'm playing. This custom accessory so that I can just do that while I'm playing. I love that. That's great fun to me. But I can't find an equivalent thing for the PSVR2, just down to the way the halo is built around the wrist. I don't think that is possible, and that is something I really like. So not having that might take away some of the enjoyment. I'm not sure. So I'm going to sit here and keep debating on this. Maybe I'll buy myself it for Christmas. I don't know. It's not like I've not spent more than that on individual games before, and I could write it off. So yeah, I'm probably going to end up pulling that trigger, but we'll see. If you guys have got a PSVR 2, let me know what you think of it. Comment down below. And if you have found an attachment like the ones that I've got on the Oculus controllers where I can just let go when I'm not actively gripping, that'd be wonderful as well. Anyway, it has been a few days since we've done a Q&A style video, so let's do some Q&A style stuff, shall we? I say that as the sun has come out and is now shining brightly on my face. Go away, sun. Actually, no, don't, because I'm batch recording a ton of videos right now. To go completely the opposite direction when it comes to technology, would I ever buy a Sony PS2 Bravia? So for those that don't know, the PS2 has a version that is built into a Sony TV CRT, and it does look really cool, and I would be very tempted by it. But the problem is, and to be fair, this is something I've been on the lookout for, I would like a CRT TV to play my PS2 on, because I think it would just look how it's supposed to look, rather than me using all of the upscalers and things like that and never really getting where I really want to be, even though I spent like £400 on an upscaler. I'm really not making it any better, the fact that I spent £400 on an upscaler, but I'm here oohing and ahhing over the PSVR2. My brain's wired wrong. But I've even got a spot picked out for the CRT TV. Hang on. In reality, my desk back here is never, ever, ever used, because both of those monitors and that PC are hooked up to my setup, my big TV. That's a 40-inch TV and a 27-inch monitor, I think. But the problem with a CRT is I would need a large one. I'm so used to gaming on my 77-inch TV that to get I don't know, anything less than a 30 would feel weird to me. I don't know. It's going to feel weird no matter what I do. The thing is that I'm pretty sure that CRT TVs feel larger than their inches would dictate because of the aspect ratio being a little bit different. So there is that. CRT TVs don't come in the same standard measurements that standard TVs do nowadays. I'm also pretty sure of that. But the problem with buying these CRT TVs is A, finding them, because they're heavy. They're really, really heavy. So delivery is often a problem. So like when I'm looking on eBay for various different CRT TVs, especially because I want a larger one, these things weigh a ton. And when things weigh a lot, they cost a lot to deliver. So a lot of these eBay listings are not even up for delivery. They're collection only, which is obviously not really helpful to me. Although I probably could. I don't know. But if I had a CRT TV, I'd probably stick it on that desk back there, because that desk is entirely redundant. At this point, when I one day move house again, I'd probably downsize my desk and probably have more space for other things, because it just doesn't need to be there anymore. It's never, ever, ever used. It's why it's all a little bit dusty. I don't know. Because like I said, that PC over there, it's all hooked up to the big screen, and like this monitor here, the exact same setup is mirrored. The other thing with the CRT is I would like to make sure that I get it right. Like, which one should I get? I think generally it doesn't matter much, because it's not like they were built for gaming back then. It's just you get what you get. But like Panasonic, Sony Bravia, Trinitron, I know is a big name in gaming CRTs, but it's just hard to find. Even I guarantee I could go to the tip right now and see the 3 broken CRTs thrown in. That'd probably be a decent way of getting a CRT, is just hang about at the tip until some old woman comes to bin hers. You know, that would have been foolproof, I'm almost certain. But yeah, I'd like a CRT. I think it'd be very interesting. It'd be a cool addition to the setup. It's just not easy to pull the trigger on that one versus something that I could just buy at Argos and go and get today, you know? To go back to more modern technology, am I worried about the prices of my games dropping when new consoles release without disk drives? No, because it would work in the opposite way. When you make a game harder to play, you make a game more expensive. It's why games like the Spider-Man games are expensive. It's why games like Deadpool get expensive combined with the hype of the film. If you delist a game and make it difficult to play, the price of it shoots up. Anything that is less playable becomes rarer, price goes up. It wouldn't go down because they couldn't be put into a modern console. Nor would it really be too much of a bother anyway, because I've already decided that once my PlayStation 5 shelf is full, I'm done collecting physically for the current generation, because of the fact that buying new games physically is so difficult now, with pre-orders not really working the way pre-orders used to do, and the fact that there are so few places to go and buy a physical game, and the fact that as a content creator I really do need the game ASAP when it comes out to be able to make content on it. It's a real annoyance. So once that shelf is full, I've come to the conclusion, PS5 physical, I'm done with it. And then I'll just focus on collecting stuff for other consoles, the older stuff that's easier to obtain. It's absurd to me that it is literally easier for me to buy, physically anyway, older, really expensive games than it is like brand new AAA releases that should be in every shop around the country, but just because places don't stock games anymore, they're just not. But yeah, so even if, and that's a whole discussion in and of itself, the new console's released and you can't put a disc in them full stop, I don't think it'd bother me anymore. I think a lot of collectors, or a lot of like people that view collectors, are under the impression that collectors, or I don't know, me specifically, are anti-digital. I'm not. I just really like having cases. I am pro us having as many options for buying a game as we possibly can. The more options we have for buying games, the better for the gaming industry. If you only have one place that you can buy a game from, that's not good for prices, ever. That's just the law of business, you know. If there is only one price and it is one vendor selling it, we've now got a problem. So the more options we have as gamers to buy our things from various different physical marketplaces and various different online marketplaces, the better. If games go 100% digital and don't get a physical release full stop, and the only place that you can buy them is PlayStation Network or the Xbox Store, that's a problem. That's why a lot of collectors don't like digital stuff. And the fact that if you haven't physically got it in your hand, you don't physically own it, and it can theoretically be taken off of you. It is pretty unlikely that a game that you have paid for digitally is going to be just non-playable anymore, but it isn't impossible, whereas I will always, until they biodegrade away, be physically capable of sticking a disc into my console and it just working. But on that same topic, I also think it's going to be at least a couple more generations of gaming until we physically forego discs. I'm pretty sure that right now physical gaming is like seeing a bit of an uptick again. And I think that even though the baseline version of the console might become the one without the disc, whereas, for example, on PS5, I'm pretty sure that like the regular PS5 outsold the PS5 with no disc drive. Like, people see the PS5 and the Series X as the regular version, and the discless versions are like the weird side spin-offs. There's a chance that in the next couple of generations that the discless versions become the mainline console and the disc versions become the weird spin-off. But I think that for at least the PS6 and probably, I hope, the PS7, there'll still be a disc drive, especially because of the fact that people are not moving up in console generations anymore the way they used to. To this day, we are like half a decade in to the PS5's life cycle, and people are still not moving across from PS4. And if you were to create a new console where you can't play your old games, it's just going to almost guarantee that people are not going to want to move. It would be a bad business model to completely make it impossible to play your physical games. I think that, at least for the foreseeable, it is unlikely that we're going to see a console where we absolutely, no matter what, have no options for physical media, or at least for a while. I think that the PS6, 7, whatever, the PS7 will probably come out when I'm like 40 anyway, so it's not going to, I don't know. We'll be able to just attach a disk drive, I'm sure, or there'll be some other workaround by then when technology is further ahead. Although, if Back to the Future 2 taught us anything, technology is not progressing as fast as we thought it was going to, because it's interesting to me, right? I remember, so Back to the Future 2 is set in 2015. We have flying cars, massive holograms, and really futuristic technology is what they thought in the 80s or early 90s that 2015 was going to look like. That was 10 years ago. For example, I'm a big cinema guy. Back to the Future 2 is back in the cinema right now, or it's about to be, for its 35th anniversary or something like that. And the fact that next year marks 10 years even further ahead. I remember when Back to the Future Day was a thing, when we hit the date that Marty McFly arrived in the future in part 2. When we hit that day in real life, everybody was like, oh my god, we're here. And we don't have half the tech that we thought we were going to have. It's the same thing with Black Ops 2. Black Ops 2 is set in 2025, and that's supposed to be futuristic. We're there in like 2 months. We're there. It's weird. So yeah, as much as I would hope that maybe there'd be some sort of technological workaround in terms of making it so that we can play our discs without having to put them in, like maybe there's some sort of device that reads the disc, turns it into data, and puts it on the card on hard drive digitally instead. There is a device called like that. It's called a disk drive, but they want to remove that. I don't know. Maybe they figure something else out, create something new beyond my comprehension that I can't even imagine. But I doubt it, because things are just not moving ahead anymore, and if anything, we're going backwards. We'll finish out with this one. Why do I always have both consoles on? This one comes from specifically TikTok or videos where I'm filming my TV playing games, and it's because you can always see, in fact, I'll get you the angle now, my PS5 and my Series X are usually both turned on. Now, the reason for that is that cable that comes out of the Xbox Series X goes to that ring light, where if I'm recording videos and there's no daylight, I need my ring light. The PS5 is usually the console that's actually being played. For some reason, the PS5 doesn't supply enough power through that USB port for my ring light. It just doesn't work the way that it should. I really don't understand why, like even when it's turned on. But yeah, what I do plan to do is I need to get the electrician around for a couple of different jobs, to be fair, because a lot of I've been saying this for like 6 months. My spotlights, if you look, the one at the back is going out. This one in the middle is going out. That one there is going out. And you might think it's as simple as changing a light bulb, but I don't think it is, because they're all linked up. Like I'm pretty sure you'd pull that out and I don't know, it's not that simple. Anyway, I'd rather pay a professional to do it properly. I'm about that life when it comes to a lot of things, where it's like, if I don't have the skills to do a thing, pay somebody that does. That's what they're literally for, you know. If you want something done properly, pay somebody that does it for a living to do it, you know. But I also want to get all of my plug sockets in the room changed to USB port plug sockets as well, because then this cable could just plug directly into that, and it would be a lot easier rather than having it plugged into the Series X, and it would avoid this question. Although at this point, I often do just leave it on, because it raises this question as well. People ask about my electricity bill sometimes, as somebody that just really is never out of this room. I think the electricity bill is, for the whole house, gas and electric, per month is about £200. And it's not too bad, especially considering we have air conditioning, like real air conditioning in 2 of the rooms in the house that is used all the time. For example, right now it is 10 degrees outside, and when my air conditioning was turned off, it was like 30 degrees in here. So I was like, yeah, no, I need that aircon on. I could have the window open, and I typically would, but allergies at the minute are beating me to death. I don't know why. Whenever I open that window, I start sneezing, to the point of near bleeding. I've got a bit of an annoying neighbour who doesn't understand that his child is not a dog and whistles at it constantly. That's quite annoying. And for some reason, there are 1,000,001 sirens I've noticed. You only notice these things when you're looking for it, but like when that window's open, all I hear all day is sirens, like ambulances and police, and I'm like, oh, since when was this a thing? But it is a pretty common thing. And yeah, finally, my neighbours have got my other side neighbours that we do love, they've got a newborn and they leave their window open pretty often. And obviously, I'm recording videos late at night quite often. I project my voice when I speak to a camera because you kind of have to when you're speaking to a camera. You don't speak to a camera the way that you would speak to like a friend stood in front of you. You've got to project, you've got to talk at it rather than to it. And I don't want to subject a newborn child and keep that child up and cause problems for them. So my window stays shut most of the time these days, and I control the temperature with the aircon. And realistically, I don't think the air conditioning played too much of an effect into the price of the electricity bill. I think it put it up about 20 quid a month, which, considering we go halves on the bills, it's like a tenner each to be able to control the temperature upstairs. We have a townhouse, so it's 3 floors, which means that the top floor gets stupidly hot as well, and sleeping is a real problem sometimes. Like, when we experienced last summer, we were like, yeah, we need air conditioning, we're never doing this again. So we got air conditioning. I remember in my old room in my mum's house where I had a tiny little box room, I held a meat probe in the air once and it read like, I think it was 50 Celsius. It was something mental like that. I have a picture somewhere, I'd have to find it. But way hotter than you should ever be in. And I was like, yeah, one day when I can afford it, I'm getting air conditioning, and I don't care what it costs because I would rather have less money but a higher quality of life, you know? Anyway, I think that's a wrap for today's video, or for this video. See you later. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't already, do subscribe. I should have said that 30 seconds in. I hope I did. I don't remember. See you in a bit.